What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. We're going live. We're on Facebook. I'm a little bit flustered. I'm a little bit disorganized. I was meant to have a lesson, I thought, at 4:30 my time, but it was 4:30 Perth time, and there's a 2-hour difference. So I ended up having to cut the lesson short and obviously, get here and start chatting to you. So today I want to do two things. Today. I want to teach you some really cool ways to ask permission to do something in Australian English. So these are really two phrases. Do you mind if I? And would you mind if I? I want to teach you those, but I want to teach you those how I would say them as an Aussie, so that when you go around asking permission to do something, whether it's going to the toilet, buying something, trying something on, having a smoko, having a break, you'll be able to ask just like I would, just like an Aussie. And I also want to go through and teach you 30 or more, maybe more, 30 Australian slang terms that end with an O, So we're going to try and work on some Aussie slang expressions, the ones that end with an O. We'll play around with that a bit, and I'll test you guys and see if you know some of these things. So before we get started, give me a thumbs up, give me a love heart if you can hear me okay, if the audio is okay, everything's going well. And as usual, I'm going to jump over to Facebook and quickly give the post a share so it gets a little bit of a boost. So, excuse me, if you want to help me boost the live session, then give it a like and give it a share on Facebook, as Facebook will recognize it and think that I've got more than 8 people watching. But I'm just giving it a quick share, and then I will get started. And I'm looking forward to testing you guys on on the Aussie English that we're going to go over today with the slang terms. So, all right, today I wanted to start with these two different ways of asking permission to do something. So the first one is, do you mind if I, and then you would say the present tense form of something, or the infinitive of a verb. Do you mind if I go? Do you mind if I look? Do you mind if I wait? Do you mind if I watch? You would use the infinitive form here, and then you can finish the sentence. But I really like this kind of learning languages where you learn a small construction like, do you mind if I? And you practice that, you get used to saying that, and you can just blurt it out, you can spit it out really quickly, and then finish the rest of your idea. And so you can sort of cookie cutter it out, we say, where you cut out certain phrases, certain things that you're going to use a lot, again and again and again, these kinds of patterns in English, and then you can just add the rest of the sentence to this thing. And I found that do you mind if I and would you mind if I are both constructions that I use all the time. Anytime I want to ask for permission to do something, whether it's from my parents, friends, could be a girlfriend, could be a boyfriend, could be at work, could be anywhere. But casually I would say, do you mind if I? And then the rest of the sentence. All right, so before I get into that, I want to say also that Australians tend to say, they use the verb mind, and the verb mind is like, does it bother you? So if I ask someone, do you mind if I do something? It's kind of me asking them, does it bother you if I do something? And so it's my way of asking, is this going to annoy you? Is it something you mind if I do? Is it something that bothers you? Is it something that annoys you? So it's a really good one. We use mind all the time. You're going to hear this all the time when you come to Australia, whenever you chat to Australians. So that's why I think it's important to learn, and it's important to learn to use when you speak English, especially in Australia, because you'll sound a lot like me. So the first one, do you mind if I? And listen to the cadence and the intonation there. Do you mind if I? So hear how the consonants at the end of certain words are shifting onto the next word. Do you mind if I? defy. Do you mind if I? So it flows. We do that quite a lot in English. We take the consonants that words end in, and if the next word starts with a vowel, we'll often pronounce them as if that consonant on the end of mind has moved on to the next word and then turned if into diff. Do you mind if I? Do you mind if I? The next point I want to make here is that when you hear do and you together, I and a lot of other Australians will say ju or ja. Ju, ja, ju. It'll be any form of that. The vowel becomes less important because it's obvious what we're talking about, and it's a one-on-one kind of thing. I'm talking to you, and so if I say do you, I would actually pronounce this as j. Do you mind if I? Do you mind if I have a break? Do you mind if I have a smoko? Smoko is in a 5-minute smoke break. Do you mind if I go to the shops? Do you mind if I go see a mate tonight? Do you mind if we go out later? J, j, j. So it starts with that sound. Do you? Do you mind? Do you mind? Do you mind? Do you mind if I? So that's the first one. Do you mind if I? And then infinitive of any verb. Walk, go, watch, do, whatever you want. Put it there and then finish the sentence. But practice that construction. Do you mind if I? Do you mind if I? That's a really, really good one. Would you mind if I? Would you mind if I? So how would I say that first part, would and you, based on what you just learnt from do you, do, what would I do there with would you, and the D at the end of would? How do you reckon that would join with you? Would, and then do you, would you? So it turns into would you. So instead of really pronouncing those vowels again, would you, I would say would ya, would ya. Janine just got it there, would ya. So here it would be, would you mind if I? Would you mind if I? Would you mind if I? Same thing, it means exactly the same thing as do you mind if I? Would you mind if I? Do you mind if I? Would you mind if I? And again, this is something I find myself saying this all the time at work, with my parents. I might ask my parents, do you mind if I borrow the car? Do you mind if I? Do you mind if I borrow the car? And you'll see how quickly I can speak there. As soon as I start contracting these words down, this is part of learning to understand Australian English and languages anywhere, is learning to pull apart these constructions of these contractions of all these words, especially that Australians push into this one, it sounds like one word, do you mind if I, do you mind if I, but it's actually do you mind if I. Anyway, those are the first two things. Do you mind if I, infinitive verb, and then the rest of the sentence, or would you mind if I, infinitive verb, and then the rest of the sentence. I really recommend that you guys learn this and use this when asking permission to do something. Do you mind if I go out? Do you mind if I go to the shops? Do you mind if I borrow your car? Would you mind if I saw my friends? Would you mind if I had lunch? Would you mind if I came back later? And I would use this with anyone and everyone. It's not impolite, it's not polite, it's just language that I would use everywhere. All right, so that's the first introduction to today's lesson. I wanted to focus more on slang, but I just talked about those in a private lesson that I had with one of my students, Zuli, and I was teaching her how to use these constructions, these contractions. Well, it started raining outside. It started raining. So today I want to test you guys. I want to test you on Australian slang words ending in O. Ending in O. And I guess to start, do you guys know any slang terms in Australian English that end with the letter O? And can you type them below in a comment? Maybe even use them in a sentence for bonus points. So I'll see what you guys know. I want to see if any of you shock me, because I have a feeling one or two of the really, really common ones you're going to say first, but type down in a comment below if you can mention any that end with an O. And we've already got one. We've already got one. And see if you can put it in a sentence for bonus points. But I guess to introduce this, the majority of words that you are going to hear that end with an O are going to be the original word with all of the word except for the first syllable removed, and then an O put on the end. We've gone over this before in a live class with the words ending in IE or Y, like veggies or reli, etc. And that was exactly the same rule. The first syllable, the rest of the word is removed, and then we put E or O on the end, and the O one, yeah, it's exactly the same. And you guys are nailing it. You guys are nailing it. So what have we got here so far? All right. I'll go through yours first. So Elvira has said avo. Who knows what an avo is and can use it in a sentence, an avo. So if I was cooking with an avo, if I was eating an avo, I love going to the shops and buying avos. They tend to be green. You know avos are ready to eat when they're slightly soft to the touch. When you can touch them and they're slightly soft, that's an avo. And an avo is an avocado. An avocado. And what about, all right, what about a rego? What is the rego for your car? What do you guys think rego is? If I have to get a new rego for my car because the rego ran out, the rego might cost me about $700, so $700. The rego, so that's the registration for my car. And again, you'll hear reg. The rest of the word has been removed, and then we've just put an O on the end, so we have reg O. That's it, exactly, guys. Registration, reg O, rego. So you guys have nailed this. You've got a whole heap coming through. You obviously know them. Let's see if I can test you. Aggro. What is aggro? If I am incredibly aggro towards someone, I am incredibly angry. I might be a little violent as well. If I'm aggro, what does aggro stand for? And then again, think agr, the first syllable there. Exactly, Kaden's got it. It means aggressive. If you're an aggro kind of person, you're aggressive. So what if you're an aggro kind of guy and you're drinking some alco, or you've gone to buy some alco? What would alco stand for? And again, we've taken the first syllable of this word, alk, and we've removed the rest, and we put an O on the end. Alco. You're an aggro kind of guy because you drink a lot of alco, or maybe you are aggro when you drink a lot of alco. It's because it is alcohol, exactly. And so maybe you're an aggro guy who's drunk way too much alco, and you've got to call up the ambos. You've dialed 000 and you've called up the ambos. What is an ambo? What is an ambo, guys? What's an ambo? So you think, woo, woo, woo. They take you to the hospital. Exactly. An ambulance. That's it. We've gone over avo as an avocado in the avo. What about if I get into a fight with someone? If I get into a fight with someone and this word starts with B, what would you imagine that word is? It's got an O on the end and it starts with a B. So I've gotten into a fight and it's based on the word biff, which is sort of the idea of punching someone. You've biffed them. You've given them a bop, a biff. How would you turn biff into an Aussie slang term? That's it. Roci got it. Roci got it. A biffo. A biffo is a fight. Any kind of fight is a biffo. Bottle-o. What's a bottle-o, guys? If I tell you a bottle-o is a place that you can buy alco, there might be aggro guys waiting outside the bottle-o sometimes on weekends if they've drunk a bit too much alco. Maybe the ambo has to come to the bottle-o to take away some of these aggro guys who have drunk too much alco. I keep wanting to say alcohol and alco. Carolina got it. A bottle-o is a bottle shop or a liquor shop. A liquor shop. All right, so it's the avo. I'm eating avos. I've bought some alco from the bottle-o. I had a biffo. The ambos came and picked me up, but I'm okay now. So I've gone home and I'm now watching the TV and I'm watching a doco. So I'm watching a doco. What would that be? A doco. And remember, the first syllable is doc. The rest of the word's been removed and we put an O on the end. What do you guys think a doco would be? What word does that stand for? Documentary. That's it. Janine got it. So while I'm watching the doco, there's some tradies that are working on my house. They're renovating the house, so they're doing a renovation. So this time, if we take the word renovation and we turn this into a slang term that ends with O, what would the word renovation become? How would you turn the word renovation into a slang term that ends with O? Renovation. Renovation becomes, she got it, reno. Becomes reno. Exactly, guys, exactly. So we're getting through them quick. All right, imagine that I have gone to work and I broke my leg at work. And as a result, I've gotten a compensation payment. A compensation payment. If I get a compensation payment, it's money from the government or money from work to take care of myself because I was injured at work. What would be the slang term for a compensation payment? So think the first syllable there, remove everything else, and then put an O on the end of it. Ruchi's got it. A compo, or the compo, or just compo. So you might hear Aussie guys use this quite a bit. I was at work, I was doing some hard yakka. Hard yakka is a slang term for doing hard work. Yakka means work. And I got injured. As a result, work's given me some compo. I've gotten on the compo. I've gotten compo because now I can't work. So I've gotten a compensation payment. I'm on the compo. All right, what about the word definitely? How would you turn the word definitely into a slang term? So definitely. Definitely. What would you do to that word? These are going to get easier and easier. You guys are seeing the pattern, I think. What would you do to definitely? The word definitely. I definitely want to see you later. I definitely want to catch up. Felipe's got it. Felipe's got it. Defo. I defo want to see you. I would defo love to catch up with you later. I would defo. And one that sounds very similar to this, defo. So that's with an F. Devo. What do you guys think Devo stands for? If I said, my father passed away on the weekend, my father died, and now I'm Devo. I'm absolutely Devo. Or my favourite team lost their game. So Essendon, I barrack for Essendon. They're my favourite footy team. They lost on the weekend and now I'm Devo. If I am Devo, what adjective could Devo stand for? And Kaden's got it. Janine's got it as well. Devo means devastated. Devastated. Same rule again. You've taken dev, you've removed all the rest of the word, you've put the O on the end and you've made Devo. So I hope you guys are getting this. You're seeing the pattern there where I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to teach you this so that when you go out and about, when you're out talking to other Australians and you hear them use words like this, slang terms that end in IE or Y or O, you'll hear the first syllable and based on the context of whatever they're talking about, you know, we've just called the Ambos, he's got some alco, we're going to go watch a doco. You'll hear the first part of the word, you'll hear the O and you'll be like, okay, the O is there and it represents the rest of the word and you can work it out just solely based on learning this pattern. All right. What about if you are a garbage man or a garbage collector? What would be the slang term for garbage man? So somebody comes around in the mornings, on the weekends, and needs to pick up the trash. And you know, I tend to be woken up on a Sunday morning by these guys. If you were to take garbage man and remove everything except for the first syllable, that's it. You'd get garbo. Garbo. Yeah, you guys got it. What about if I work in hospitality? If I work in hospitality, and this is anything like working in a hotel, working in a restaurant, just working with people, usually serving people, whether it's serving them food, cleaning their rooms, that's hospitality. How would I change the word hospitality into an Aussie slang term? Janine smashed it. She got it. She nailed it. It's hospo. And so I guess here you'd have to, well, you should note that hospo means hospitality. It doesn't mean hospital. We'd never, at least I have no slang term for hospital. I would just say hospital. People who work in a hospital might have some other slang term they use, but hospo is definitely hospitality, like working as a waiter or working in a hotel, that kind of stuff. Oh, Myrna's just suggested one. So servo. If I take my car to the servo to get some pedo, what is a servo? What's a servo, guys? So this is somewhere you get petrol, a servo. You might go inside afterwards and get some chips, a drink, an ice cream. You might even get some other stuff there at a servo, like sunglasses. You might get a hat. You tend to see them on highways. What do you guys think a servo is, and what could serve? What would serve stand for? Kaden's got it. You guys all got this. You got gas station, petrol station, and service station. But service station is the one that we've turned into servo. But it does mean all of those. It's just that servo is from service, and we've just put the O on serve. Servo. What if I'm going to work, so I'm going to the servo. I have filled my car up with some petrol, and I'm going to work as a journo. If I'm going to work as a journo, so I'm writing articles for a newspaper, what does journo stand for? What could journo represent? What word is journo a slang term for? If I work as a journo, what do you guys reckon? I think you'll get this pretty quickly. A journo. So I might go and interview people. I could be on the TV. I might write for a newspaper, a magazine. A journo. That's it. Ruchi and Felipe got it. It's a journalist. Kaden as well. Killing it. What if I told you that I work as a journo and I'm the only journo in the entire office that has a mo? What could mo be short for? And for all those listening right now, I'm pointing at my upper lip. What could a mo be? What's mo potentially short for? A mo. What do you guys reckon? Moustache, exactly. A mo is a moustache. And this, interestingly enough, is why you'll hear people refer to November. When men grow their moustaches for November to raise money for prostate cancer, it's called Movember instead of November. Movember. And it's a play on words. It's a play on words with the moustache and the month. Okay, what else have we got here? All right, what about if I work as a musician? So I play the guitar, I play the drums. I might be a session musician, meaning that I'm paid to play in bands, but I don't have a specific band that I started or became a member in as a full-time musician. If I work as a session musician, maybe I do work as a full-time musician, but what can we turn musician into? If I was to turn musician into a slang term, what would I do? What would I take from the start of it? Mew, Sam's got it, muso. And something to point out there is the fact that the S there sounds like a Z, as you'll know when you say music. Muso sounds like a Z. Zorro, Z. I think one of you guys said this earlier on in the comments. I saw this word come up, but I'll say it. I'll let you guys guess what it is. My sister at the moment is pregnant. So she's about to have a baby. She's about, I think, 6 or 7 months pregnant now. She's due in November. So it could be Movember if I decide to just grow a mo for prostate cancer. What is the slang term for pregnant? Prego. Exactly. Prego. So you've taken preg from the start of pregnant, the word pregnant, and you can say prego. She's prego at the moment. She's prego. A cool slang for this one is also up the duff. I think both of these I probably wouldn't use when directly talking to a woman who is pregnant, because she may take offense. She's probably not going to if you know her well. But if it was a complete stranger, I wouldn't say, it looks like you're preggers or prego, or you're up the duff. Up the duff is just slang for you're pregnant, but it's a cool one that you might hear. Up the duff. So if you watch The Simpsons and you know Duff Man, you know Duff Man with the beer, spelt the same way, D-U-F-F, duff, I believe. Up the duff. That's a really common one you'll hear in Australia when, I guess, people who could be bogans, but with, you know, they use a lot of slang. They might be referring to other people who are pregnant. They'll say up the duff. Yeah, Leandro's just spelt it there for you guys. Up the duff. So what about if I have some relos coming over for a barbie? So they bring in some alco, maybe we'll watch some docos, but the relos are coming over. 1 relo, 2 relos. What would a relo be if you guys were to deconstruct, or sorry, put that word back together? What would that be? That's it. Relatives. A relo, 2 relos, 1 relative, 2 relatives. Relatives. Roo. What is a roo, guys? And I'm sure you'll all know this one. A roo. You imagine it bouncing along. Might have a joey in its pouch. A roo. You don't want to hit any roos at night when you're driving around on the roads in Australia. What could a roo be? What do you guys reckon? What's roo short for? That's it. Anna got it. A kangaroo. Kangaroo. We also use the term Skippy. And Skippy was a TV show, I think, back in the 70s or 80s. My parents probably watched... my parents are probably a bit old for this, but kids in the 70s might have watched it. And there was a kangaroo in this TV show called Skippy. It was kind of the equivalent of Australia's Lassie. And Lassie was that American show with the dog that would run around everywhere solving crimes and stuff. We had that with Skippy, and so now you can use Skippy as a slang term for kangaroos as well as roo. So getting on to the last few here, guys. If I went to the Salvos to buy some secondhand clothes, or maybe I want to donate some clothes or donate some furniture, do any of you guys know what the Salvos are? Or I might even say what the Salvos is. This one's a difficult one because it's kind of made plural. However, it is a single entity, a single place. So the Salvos. Myrna's got it. The Salvation Army. I'm amazed that you guys know that one. That one I didn't think would be that well known. So the Salvation Army is a Christian organization that sells secondhand goods in order to raise money to, I guess, do Christian things with that money. You know, build churches, heal the sick, prevent people from being poor, donate money to all different causes. That's the Salvation Army. But we'll tend to see them all over the place because that's where we go to buy secondhand clothes in Australia. Servo we've done. What if I want to take a 5-minute break at work to have a cigarette? What would I refer to that break as, guys? What would I say? Using these things again, remember from the start of the lesson. Do you mind if I, or would you mind if I go for a, or do you mind if I go for a smoke break, we call? That's it, a smoko. A smoko. You guys are on top of this. You know everything that's going on. A smoko. This is common everywhere, and the interesting thing is that you don't necessarily need to be having a smoke to go on a smoko. It's become ubiquitous with just having a break, and it's usually a short break. Obviously, if it was originally having a cigarette usually, you know, is 2 to 5 minutes long, and so smokos now tend to be short breaks. Do you mind if I have a smoko? Sorry, this moustache is driving me crazy after I play with it. It's itching my nose. The last 3. Imagine I'm typing a message and I make an error. So I'm typing and I make a typing error. What would you call typing error if you were to put an O on the end of that word? So a typing error. What would you say it is? Ruchi smashed it. You guys are getting these so quick. A typo. So if I'm typing and I make an error, I might be like, I made another typo. Damn, I've made some more errors. I've made some typos. I made a typo. I made 2 typos. That's what a typo is. The last one, or the second last one, is a vegetarian. And you can say this for someone who is a vegetarian, or you can say this for a meal that is vegetarian. So it can either be a person or it can be what a meal is. How would you turn the word vegetarian into a slang term. And Kaden's killing all of these tonight. Same with you, Felipe. Jesus. Ruchi as well. Vejo. That's it. Vejo, vejo, vejo. And it's funny. I think a few of you have written it with 2 G's. One of you, or 2 of you have written it with 1 G. And, well, yeah, it's switching between the two. That is exactly what Australians would do. We wouldn't know, is it 1 G, is it 2 Gs? That happens quite a bit with these sorts of slang terms where the spelling isn't really consistent because we don't really write it. It's spoken all the time, and so it's not consistently written out and the spelling isn't agreed upon. So don't worry too much, I guess is the point there. When you're writing this out, don't worry too much about being perfect. People are going to get it and they probably won't know if they're correct or wrong anyway. So there you go. The last one is an interesting one because we've turned an adjective here into a noun. So if I say that someone is a weirdo, it means that the person's strange. It means that they're weird. But instead of just calling them a weird, because that, to me, that sounds strange, that sounds weird. In order to make it a noun, we've put an O on the end of it, and we've said that they are a weirdo. They're a weirdo. So that's today's lesson, guys. I've got half an hour or so until I have an interview on Skype for the podcast. I want you guys to give me any questions at all. Did I miss any slang terms that end with O? Can you guys think, this nose is driving me crazy. Can you guys think of any slang terms that end in O that I missed in this lesson? Do you have any songs that you would like? Any songs? It's Radiohead's Song Creep. Do you have any questions is what I want to say. Do you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer regarding English, regarding anything else? You guys are asking some things already. What else have you said here? Pete, has the expression ditto got anything to do with the sort of slang? No, it doesn't. Ditto is, I think it's literally a word. It's not a slang term. It's used everywhere in English to mean the same thing. So it's the kind of idea of quotation marks, like you've said, ditto. So you might say that as me too. I would use ditto to do that. If someone said, I really like dogs, and instead of saying I do too, I might just say, yeah, ditto. Meaning I've used quotation marks to replace, to take what they've just said and say it again. So that's the ditto thing. So let's see if I can actually find the same thing again. And that's literally the definition of it. If you say ditto, it just means the same thing twice. Ditto. So it's not a slang term. It just happens to end with an O. So any questions, guys? Hit me up with your questions. If you want to learn anything about Australia, if you've got any questions about English, if you've got any questions for me, anything at all, or else I guess I will just get to some of the questions that people have asked me in the last week or so. So nothing yet. Okay. So I think I've had someone here on YouTube called Don't Call Me Billie Jean who's asked, do you pronounce bed and bad the same way? So no, bed and bad. These are 2 different vowel sounds. So think bed as in where I would sleep. This is my bed behind me. Bed, bed. And bad, bad. Bad's a longer vowel sound and you've got a wider mouth. So bed, bad. Bed, bad. Same with head, 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 and had, as in the past tense of to have. Head, had, bed, bad. What else? Met and mat. That's another one. Met, mat. But they're different vowel sounds. They're slightly different. Can I use the expression out of the blue in a formal way? Pilla wants to know. Yes, out of the blue is fine. You can use it formally, informally. It's one of those expressions that it's not slangy and it's not rude in any way at all. This is common everywhere too. I think Americans would use this, and British people as well would use out of the blue, and it just means I think, again, without looking this up, it's sort of like it's either come out of the sky or out of the ocean with no warning. And so that's the basic idea of out of the blue, meaning out of nowhere, as in it just suddenly appeared, it suddenly shocked you, and you've just gone, whoa, this thing came out of the blue. So for example, tomorrow, if I was diagnosed with some kind of, really rare disease and there was no warning for it, I could say, well, that came out of the blue. I didn't expect that. If I was walking in the street and a friend just happened to appear, walked up to me, maybe they tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and said, whoa, you came out of the blue. The basic idea there is that it just came out of nowhere. You've shocked me. I wasn't expecting it. Came out of the blue. What else have we got here? Can you talk about Aussie slangs for beer can and beer bottle? I can, Felipe. So these are ones that end with a Y or with an IE, so an E sound. E. So do you guys know the slang terms for a beer can? And I'm trying to look around at how many cans here. For a can, a tin can. So if we turn tin into a slang term by adding Y on the end, how would you pronounce that? Or how would you write it? And the other one for a bottle starts with stub. Stub, as in, I guess the shape of something. And this is an adjective which is also the slang term. Stubby. So stubby is what I would call a beer bottle made of glass, a stubby. I would tend to only really use this for beer too. I wouldn't use this for, say, lolly drinks. So like glass bottles of, say, vodka mixed with, cordial and that sort of stuff. I wouldn't refer to those as stubbies. They would just be a bottle. But beer, and usually in like a short, stout bottle, is a stubby. So you might smash a 6-pack, a 60 of stubbies. So that's 6 stubbies. You might smash a slab of stubbies. And smash in this sense is completely finish. Not literally throw it at the ground and have it smash. If I smash something, a drink, some food, this means to completely consume. So if I bought someone a stubby and they drank it really quickly, I could say, whoa, you smashed that. You really smashed that fast. And that is to consume incredibly quickly. So that's some Aussie slang. And again, might be used elsewhere, but I definitely know for sure that it's a common slang term that Aussie guys would probably use, maybe girls as well. If you consume food or drink really, really quickly, you smashed it, or you smash through something. You could probably use that too. If I watch the series of Game of Thrones in a day, my friends might say, poof, you smashed through that first season of Game of Thrones, meaning you completed it, you finished it, you consumed it. The first one there, if I didn't get to it, is a tinny. And this is because cans used to be made from tin. They're not anymore. Obviously, they're aluminium. And notice there that I say aluminium, not aluminum. Aluminium is the Australian way that we pronounce what the Americans would call aluminum, but we call it aluminium. Aluminium, and that's what these cans are made from. And so quite often you'll hear guys refer to cans as tinnies, cans. Chuck us a tinny of beer, mate. I might smash a tinny. Let's go get smashed and have some tinnies. Tinny, you guys got that? Kaden asks, would you please talk about the sizes of the glass of beer? Oh, do you mean if you go to different places and buy them? This one's really annoying because in Australia the sizes vary from state to state. So for instance, here in Melbourne we have what are called pots, and a pot is, again, I've got something the size of a deodorant thing here. A pot would probably be about this big, and it would be 285 milliliters of alcohol. So a pot is about this big. That's the first sort of smallest drink you can buy of beer, of cider, of whatever it is when you go to the bottle oat, or not the bottle oat, when you go to a shop that serves alcohol, or a bar, whatever you want. The next size up would be, you might find this in Victoria, but usually this isn't here, a schooner. A schooner is halfway between a pot and what I would call a pint. Pint. Pot, schooner, pint. A pint is about half a litre. A schooner is about, I think, between 380, maybe a can, the equivalent of a can's worth. And then a pot is 285 millilitres. I don't know why these are all different, but the basic ones you're going to find in Victoria are a pot and a pint. So about a quarter of a litre and a half litre. When you go to places like New South Wales, they'll have schooners for sure, and I think Queensland as well, they're a lot more prevalent, so you might not find pots. If you go in and ask for a pot, they'll be confused. They probably serve you schooners. Schooners. So pot is spelt P-O-T. Schooner, I think, is S-C-H-O-N-E-R, I think, or O-O-N-E-R. See, these are words I never spell, so I'm not 100%. Yeah, schooner is S-C-H-O-O-N-E-R, schooner, schooner. And then a pint is P-I-N-T. You might hear as well, sometimes people will refer to how much blood they've lost or how much blood they've given in pints. And it's, I guess, an old measurement from Britain, and it means a half litre, a pint. He's lost a pint of blood, he's drunk a pint of beer. So Myrna asks, when the letter T is pronounced as R in the spoken Aussie English accent. So Myrna, I went over this last week, and it's up on YouTube. It's one of the more recent videos, and it's called the T flap. So the T flap, again, for everyone else who hasn't seen that, the T flap is what we do when there is a vowel on one side of a T, or two T's, and then another vowel on the other side. So you've got vowel sounds surrounding on either side of one T or two T's. So an example would be the word water, the water. I'm saying incredibly well with a T, ta. And you'll see the tongue there, it hits behind the teeth and it goes ta. So it sort of releases like this. If I'm speaking quickly, the tongue doesn't sit there and then come out again, it just flicks. So I'd go water. It's very quick, and it might flick forward, it might flick back. Water instead of water. So that's one T. You might also hear this in words like little becoming little. So that's what happens. When there's a vowel sound either side of a T, we often pronounce it as the flap T. Go check out that video on YouTube if you want a bit more of a breakdown. What else? Active Guy, welcome mate. You're always here with questions. When do I use to plus the verb with ing, like she's devoted her life to serving the poor? What's the difference if you say she devoted her life to serve the poor? The only difference here, this is a tricky one, I know, because I've had this in a few classes recently. I think the way that you work this out, or at least the way in my head that I'm working this out, is if I can think of the thing she's devoted to and then someone or something. So she's devoted to her husband. She's devoted to her husband. So she's devoted to a thing. There's no verb that follows the to there. When that happens, when it's you're devoted to something, that's when I know that I can put in the gerund form, because all the gerund form there has done has turned a verb into a noun, right? So, for instance, I can go surfing or I can go to surf. Both of those mean exactly the same thing. The only difference is that one of them uses surf as a verb, I'm going to surf, or I go to surf, and the other one uses surfing as a noun. Surfing. When we put the ing on there, it turns it into an object or a thing. Surfing. So I go surfing, I'm going surfing. It's the same thing here with she devoted her life to serving the poor. In that case, she devoted her life to something. And the something is serving the poor. And so that's all a single noun, effectively. Serving the poor. Serving here is a noun, the poor is a noun, and it's a single unit there. But you could also say she devoted her life to serve the poor. So it just depends. These are the cases where you can use it as a noun or you can use it as a verb, but both are okay. I think the basic thing in my head is just whether I can say she's devoted to someone and she's devoted to something, like she's devoted to doing something. I hope that makes sense. What other questions have we got here? Nothing yet, guys. So any other questions that you guys want to ask before I bail, before I go? And I guess the good news is I've been trying to work on Aussie English and come up with some better ideas for how I can help you guys. And I'm really thinking about emphasizing interviews, doing as many interviews as I can, because I've had quite a few of you tell me recently that you want more voices. I'm too easy to understand. Pete, you're too easy, your accent's too, neutral. So I'm going to try and do more interviews. And so today was actually really cool because I went down to Go Study Australia, which is a service here in Australia that helps people get settled once they find a school to study English at. And I interviewed Lorena down at Go Study Australia, and tonight I'm going to be interviewing Wildman, and you will have seen him in one of the other episodes that I broke down the English. He's the guy that loves crocodiles and going and taking photos of all these animals. So I'm going to interview him on Skype as well. So Kaden asks the pronunciation of president and precedent. So president, in the first word there, I'm emphasizing the very first syllable of that word, president. Precedent is the same thing again, but I'm not saying I'm saying pre. Precedent. Does that make sense? So they're just slightly different vowel sounds. Most of the time, it probably won't matter too much if you screw up the pronunciation of these kinds of things because you will understand the context. So if you say the precedent is coming over tomorrow, I'm not going to think you're trying to say precedent. I'll realize you're saying president. The president's coming. President Obama. President. If you said he has no president being here, or that has no president being here, I would know you were trying to say precedent. So just practice those vowel sounds. If you have questions, guys, about how do I pronounce these words, a really good website to check out is forvo.com. 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 This is a website where you guys can search any word in English and you'll get to hear native speakers say the word. So it's a really good way to practice accents that you're trying to learn, although they tend to be US and British. And it's a good idea for learning the emphasis for different words, like president, precedent. You'll get the idea of what parts of the word you need to emphasize, regardless of what accent you're trying to learn, because the emphasis should pretty much be the same across all languages. The things that change are the pronunciation of the vowels mostly, and then sometimes the consonants. So, okay, Lale wants to know, how do you pronounce dessert and desert? This is a really good example of where it's pretty much the same pronunciation, but the emphasis has switched. So, dessert, that's the second half of the word that I'm emphasizing there, guys. So I'm not saying dessert, I'm saying dessert. So it's the second half. That's how I'm really, I guess, making that word obvious as to which one of the two it is. Dessert. So I'm emphasizing the second part there, and that's what you eat after dinner. I'm going to have some dessert. Do you mind if I have some dessert, guys? Would you mind if I go and have some dessert? Desert is the sandy place where there's not much rain. It's incredibly dry, very, very hot, and that's the desert. And that time I'm emphasizing the first part of the word, and I guess I'm saying de instead of de. So in dessert, I'm saying the schwa. I think probably both cases there. Dessert, it's the same vowel, the schwa. Whereas with desert, the second one is the schwa, but the first one is de. Like he, head, or bed, desert. So I hope that helps. Anyway, guys, if you've got no more questions, we might finish up there. I'll give you a few more seconds. If you guys have any last questions, feel free to ask them. and then I'm going to jump on Skype and have a chat with Wildman and do the interview. So if there's nothing else that you guys want to know, gone, no more questions, all good. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope it helped. I hope you learned a whole bunch of slang terms, and I hope that do you mind if I and would you mind if I are something that you guys can really practice and then take away and use in the real life. Really practice the pronunciation there, guys. It'll make you just seem more Australian, and it's just a really cool kind of thing when you hear foreign people trying to speak like us, you know? So give that a go. As usual, guys, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by donating to the Patreon page. I'll make sure I link that in this later, or you can go to my Facebook page, my website at theaussieenglishpodcast.com and click support Aussie English, and you can donate anything from $1. You can donate more. Totally up to you guys, but this is your way of supporting something that you guys find useful, that's helping you guys learn English. Otherwise, if you want to take your English to the next level, as usual, go to the Aussie English Classroom and sign up, guys. It's $1 for the first 4 lessons. You'll get weekly lessons. These are the expression episodes where I give you a transcript of every word that's said. I give you definitions, vocab lists for all the complicated words and expressions used in those episodes. You also get pronunciation exercises so that you can sound closer to me when you speak English. Substitution exercises for phrasal verbs. You get grammar exercises and slang exercises. So I really recommend this, guys. You get a transcript that's about 33 pages of transcript and then exercises for you to work on every week. You also get 4 MP3s total to work on, guys. So this will really help take your language, take your English to the next level. Sign up to the Aussie English Classroom. It's $1. $1 for the first month. You've got nothing to lose. Give it a go. Aside from that, guys, keep listening to the podcast. Keep sharing things, keep liking things, keep commenting on things, get engaged. Jump over to the Aussie English Virtual Classroom Facebook group if you haven't already. And every now and then, every few days, I put a video up asking you guys a question to post a video answering it so that you can practice your English and engage with the other community. So we actually have quite a few guys on there. Ruchi's one of them. Pasquale is another one. Petinka's working really hard. I'm trying to convince Karina to start posting videos. Chris as well is posting a heap of videos on there at the moment. There's a whole bunch of other guys. So if you want to get engaged and you want to practice your English in a friendly environment with short videos answering short questions from me, come into the Aussie English Virtual Classroom. Anyway, guys, I've rabbited on enough. I've talked a lot. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace out, and I'll see you next week. Good job. Keep learning English. See you guys.